Welcome back. This is the C Space Studio. We are at CES 2024. I am James Kotecki. We're sponsored this year by Integral Ad Science, and we're joined once again by Scott Porretti, a returning champion and the president of Katz Digital. Welcome back again. It's always great to chat with you.
Thank you. Great to speak with you.
So before we check in, I'd like to always kind of have a reset and redefine what the brand means for you at this moment right now. So for folks who maybe didn't catch our last conversations, what is Katz Digital?
So Katz Digital Audio is the world's largest audio marketplace. And not only do we aggregate up all radio station streams, our exclusive relationship with Spotify, every major podcasting platform, but we're also venturing into all kinds of areas of emerging audio, which has been big. So we are everywhere delivering consumers where audio is being consumed.
Yeah. And so how was the last year since we chatted? And what are we looking at for 2024? I just want to check in.
Yeah, good. It was an interesting year, I would say. It was a bit of a reset. After almost a decade of 30, 40 plus growth rates within our space, kind of level set it a little bit on the agency on the buy side.
Yeah.
More scrutiny against budgets. The auto strike was pretty impactful for
And maybe
our
some
business.
macroeconomic situations.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those hit. The good news is everything is full throttle ahead, and all indications are this year it's going to be back at it. In fact, auto is our fastest growing, rebounding category. So that's helping to drive it.
Are people changing the way that they experience audio? And in terms of like, is that experience the traditional turn it on and drive around, or is there something that's changing in consumer behavior when it comes to what they're listening to in their car?
I think they're taking some of the same habits that they were having at home, and they're bringing that to the car.
Yeah.
So I think you're just streaming more. There's more accessibility in the car, and so much more of the consumption of audio is being consumed digitally. What you want, when you want it, and how you want to do it. CarPlay, factory setting, all kinds of different ways you can consume it. It's much easier today.
So how are brands most excited to get involved in this as we're continuing to hopefully grow in 2024?
I think brands are leaning into audio. So I think that they're learning and seeing the effectiveness, the both efficient and effectiveness that how audio can be used.
Efficient in the sense that it may be less costly to produce ads for the medium.
It is. Yeah. It's less costly to produce the creative. It's as effective. So for the return on investment is much higher than let's say even some video spends or other areas within digital or traditional media. So it's a great way, and I think through some of the data, and as we've been talking about over the years, some of the data companies that have leaned in to prove out on the attribution side, they're demonstrating that, and that's getting advertisers to pay attention and spend more.
I think anecdotally, people may have seen a few headlines about maybe podcasts closing up or contracting. That's not actually what's happening, right? I mean, the sheer number of podcasts is just continuing to grow, right?
It is growing. But I think there's some changes in the podcasting space that we went through a little bit this year. There's more of a shift to audience-based buying within the podcast arena. There's greater tools that will enable that. And I think that's good for let's say the longer tail of podcasting, because there's greater ways to monetize those audiences instead of the top 100 shows that have been, have seen strength, for the last several years.
So, I mean, historically, I imagine what happened was folks created podcasts and then advertisers kind of figured out what was out there and figured out how to put advertising on that. Are we seeing more folks creating podcasts with the specific aim of bringing advertisers in from the beginning? I'm not talking about branded podcasts per se. I guess what I mean is, do audio creators have more sophistication from the beginning about how they're going to integrate ads into their shows?
I think they're following the money, right? So not everybody. I think there's just good entertainment that's out there. And if you produce good content, people are going to listen, and those will get monetized. But I think, for example, in the political space, we're seeing some podcasts be created and designed around politics. A lot of that's to capitalize on the
Certainly
billions of dollars that will be spent in that arena. So.
Speaking of so I was going to say speaking of money, but I think everything at CES, obviously, there needs to be some kind of dollars or spending behind it, especially here in the C Space Studio, we talk about that. But another area where there's a lot of money and interest is streaming video. So how do you think about how audio competes in a world where if I talk to someone who's in streaming video, they would love to fill up my day, every single minute of it, with streaming video, even if I'm not actively watching it. It's just like in my pocket. It's it's going. People I know use YouTube as an audio platform. In certain times, I've pulled up a song and just listened to it as it plays. So how do you think about audio in competition or in collaboration or in conjunction with video?
So it's an interesting question, and as you're asking it, I'm thinking about both of us are too young, but in the 1950s, somebody could have sat here and said, what do you think about TV and how it's going to impact radio? So this is just the modern version of it, and all statistics show both are accelerating. People are consuming more digitally, more content, both on the audio and video side. They work together. You know, audio is growing rapidly, and so it's an intimate experience. People want it. We're doing it, and we're consuming both. So I don't think that's a threat in any way. I just think people are going to consume more digital content.
We may have talked about AI last year, but obviously the importance of AI and the importance of AI here at CES only continues to grow. How are you thinking, and how are brands thinking about using AI to meet audiences?
So we really leaned into AI this year. Last year, we met with some partners, signed some agreements, some deals to bring AI more to our marketplace. We're using it effectively this year to curate content, to deliver unique supply to advertisers looking to enhance KPIs. So, you know, think there's just so much content out there. How do you go through, so podcasting, for example. We're using AI to transcribe all of the podcasting that's out there to better create and bundle supply that is going to be right for an advertiser in a way that we just, from a human perspective, couldn't sort through.
Do you see a future of programmatically generated, AI-generated shows themselves? If you eventually transcribe everything and you could just have a show with a synthetic voice, and you see a future of that?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing it now. I mean, we're seeing that happen. And you know, there's a balance to all of this stuff. I think we're going to see it. I think that's already being there. Some companies are using, you know, AI and voice generated to do creative spots. I think back what that looked like 3 or 4 years ago to what it is today. It's come a long way. So there is a future where that stuff's going to, you know, be more enhanced.
And is there a conversation around transparency there with like what the listener or the brand, you know, do I need to reveal that my podcast is being, you know, artificially generated? Are people starting to put any kind of, is there a consensus at all around the ethics of this?
Not yet. I don't. I think there's opinions.
It's too early.
Yeah, it's too early. There's opinions all over. But I mean, it's not really used. We're not using it. We use pretty much primarily all human voices. We see the value in that, but it's not far to think about that. You know, that won't change over time.
I understand you have a recent announcement with Barometer, and the note here is a fusion of technology and human touch when it comes to audience targeting.
That's special, huh?
Tell us about that. That's a good phrase.
Well, I think there's so much of that is about using technology and human beings to generate good business and what we do. And in that specific example, it was kind of what I was talking about in using AI to sort through all kinds of different, allow us to package and curate content. But we still need humans to inform how we're going to present that. What are the packages that we're going to put together? What is happening within the marketplace? So that fusion coming together of technology and human art, I think makes it, you know, what we're presenting the market much more successful and palatable to the buyer.
Having humans as the ultimate kind of curator or arbiter of what the machine is able to do.
Correct. And informing the machines to take advantage of both those capabilities.
When we think about audio, there's very sophisticated gear here at CES this year and every year for actually delivering that content into my ears or speakers in my car or in my living room or whatever it might be. Is there a next gen leap that you are looking toward, whether it's this year or on the horizon? Is there something technological that you're excited about as far as the actual delivery system of the audio to the brain?
I think that's always my favorite part of CES, walking around the floor and seeing the different ways where audio is delivered. I don't think there's a next big thing. I mean, a lot of the progress and movement has gone to voice activation. So calling to your device to get the content you want in a faster, easier way. But technology's come a long way in that front. And that's what's fueled the growth of digital audio in terms of where it is. So,
what do you think we're going to be talking about next year? Because of course we're going to have you back on.
I mean, this year is going to be fun. I'm excited about this year and all the advancements. You know, I hope it's a lot more of what we've been seeing. I definitely think audio advertisement is going to come to more and more devices and in more sectors, so look out for that, where messages are going to be delivered.
And of course it's a political year, as you mentioned, so the 2024 campaign season is going to play a big role in the way that advertisers start to roll out this content.
Big, and I think you're seeing a lot of the campaigns and a lot of the political advertisers really leaning in a much more aggressive way to digital in general. And so there's some big shifts happening in that space.
Are there conversations there around, you know, AI, misinformation, you know, ways that you can present these things? Are there emerging standards or thoughts or conversations from, you know, brands or content providers around like what kind of ads they might accept or not accept?
So there are, and different publishers will accept, different things. You know, some want nothing to do with it, some want to embrace it and take the revenue.
Yeah.
We're very careful at Katz who we work with, what we bring on to our streams to create an environment that is fair and to both sides, but doesn't put the listeners that we have at risk.
Well, I think what's interesting about this whole space, when we talk, not just AI, but generally, is when we talk about technology, we're talking about making choices, we're talking about human, moral, ethical, political opinions. Ultimately, you get into kind of a philosophical area with it at the end of the day, where this technology is an enabling tool, but you really have to have a human-to-human conversation around what actually matters and what values are.
Yeah, you do. You do. God, there's a lot there, James.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being part of these conversations for several years, and we hope to keep talking to you here in the C Space Studio.
Yeah, great. Always enjoy it.
Scott Porretti of Katz Digital. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, James.
And that's the C Space Studio interview with Scott Porretti of Katz Digital. We've got more great conversations on the way from here in the C Space Studio. This is CES 2024. I'm James Kotecki. Keep it right here.